Howdy y'all, welcome to Hazen Barrel Craftworks here in the Hazen Barrel Homestead and our humble whiskey room. I'm the Alchemist. Well, happy Wednesday y'all, and that wind is still cold here in my small town, South Dakota. So it's a good thing that I've got no shortage of those nice, warm, 120 plus proof whiskeys to warm us from the inside this week as we explore those whiskeys that can warm winter for us. And today, I've got a nice 120 proofer, and it's Devil's River Single Barrel. Comes in at a nice warming 123 proof. And this single barrel, one thing to note about Devil's River is when they started out, they did start out as NDP, a non-distiller's producer. But if you see Devil's River with this single barrel or Distiller Select name on the label, those are actually bottles that they did distill themselves when they moved to the Burns building in San Antonio, Texas. And when they did move to the Burns building in San Antonio, Texas, they actually are pretty much grain to glass distiller now for these two versions. They don't grow their own grains, but they do source them from local Texas farmers around the area. But once those grains then are hauled to that Burns building, they do control the milling and the washing and the mash bill and everything until they bottle that all themselves right inside that Burns building. And another fun thing to note in that Burns building, from what I understand, because I've never had the privilege of being there, although I would love to visit the Devil's River Distillery on account I've been a fan of Devil's River for a long time. And I was really happy to see them through their Chapter 11 and see more bourbons coming out. I love that agave one, even though it's not distilled by themselves, but that agave bourbon. And y'all who know me know I love a dessert whiskey, and that agave one with that little bit of agave syrup in there. Oh, that sweetness. Such a good one to me. Love it. But this one here, the single barrel, another good one at 123 proof. This one says bottled for Willie's Little Devil, bottle 61 of 198. They also, besides doing all their grain to glass, they do also get the water from the Devil's River area. And what I mean by that is they take the time and trouble of hauling the waters from the source, like the tributaries, the sources from the streams that feed the Devil's River, because they're limestone springs. So they take that limestone water and haul it the 200 miles from the Devil's River up to San Antonio to that Burns building to use it in their whiskey. So it's quite the process, it's quite the time, it's quite the care that they take to make this whiskey. And another fun thing to note is the Devil's River wasn't always named the Devil's River. There was a Texas Ranger. His name was, I believe, John Coffee Hayes. And he, when he was going through the area with all the hardship of going through the river and the terrain and the snakes and everything he had to go through that area, and it was so treacherous and so much torture to go through there. He says, this is not the San Padre, this river, this is the Devil's River. And I guess that's the name that stuck, not the name that the Spanish explorers gave it. So a little bit of a name change there by this Texas Ranger from the area, and that's how the name Devil's River stuck and how it got its name and how the distillery got its name too from the Devil's River, about 200 miles away from where the distillery is. And I've, like I mentioned before, I've got a few of those Devil's River myself from their NDP days. I grabbed this one. Actually, Monday's bottle was, I think I mentioned from, well, no, I know I mentioned it's from Will Liquors. This bottle also I snagged from Will Liquors. This bottle is, this whiskey also has a nice dark color. I wonder if there's an age statement on this one. I don't see it anywhere on the bottle. Nope, don't see it anywhere on the bottle, but boy is that color nice. And wow, are those legs nice as well. I gotta be careful on my nose in there. I'm gonna spend the whole video coughing up ethanol. I'm gonna go in for my sips on this one and see what we got. That's cherry cola right there. That is cherry cola on the palate. All day long, quite nice. At 123, it hit me right away at 123. And where it hit me was going down on that initial sip. Not hit me on the palate so much, but it got me going down right away. Surprised me just a little bit. But what is nice is that cherry cola sip. Oh, that's good. A very nice cherry cola palate. Touch of heat on the tip of the tongue. Second sip didn't hit me so hard going down like that first initial sip did. Love the hug on the tip of the tongue. Nice little bit of heat. Oily. An oily viscosity. Cherry on the nose. It's mainly cherry on the nose. Cherry with the slightest hint of a little bit of raisin. And a little bit of vanilla in there. But I tell you what, that cherry cola on the palate makes for such a nice pour. And just so oily and oily viscous. And you can lick your lips on this one and taste that cherry cola. And then as it finishes, it settles into like a light vanilla, and that the heat that I like on the tip of the tongue just rests there. And that, like I was telling you on that first sip, that surprise heat that I got on that first one, it really surprised me. I don't have that anymore, but what I do have is just a nice warming, nice light warming going down, and you're just warm nicely from the inside on that. And now in the nose, along with that cherry, hint, like I said, a hint of raisin. I mean, ever so slight. And a bit of vanilla. I am getting, as this is opening up, as I take some more sips, and that's one thing I like about a good whiskey, is how it develops as you're sipping more. And this is why I love to sit in my living room with my beautiful bride in my chair and just sip a whiskey and take my time. And unfortunately, when you do a video, you got to try to cram this in 10 or so minutes to get it out there. But when I sit in my chair, I can just take my time and nose it and sip it and nose it and sip it, and it takes me an hour to do a ounce and a half pour, and it just develops. So I'm trying to rush this development in front of y'all, but right now what's developing for me is just a nice little hint of oak. Just a nice hint, and it just layers in there really nice on the nose. And that's what's on the finish, what's developing in there as that cherry cola settles down and just fades away. And I'm getting that little bit of vanilla that comes in there, but that vanilla in there is just resting on a little bit of oak. And it's a really nice way to finish this off, as I'm still warmed slightly on the inside, and that heat on the tip of my tongue lingers there, but just slightly fades away. And you're just sitting there with this delightful palate sitting, lingering on a medium to medium long finish, closer to a medium, and it's just saying, yeah, I better go in for another sip. So here I go. Yeah, that's just good. And I'd have to say, well done, Devil's River. Love me a grain to glass guy. Nicely done, well controlled. Good flavors, good development. Grab yourself a bottle. It's nice. It's a good one to sit down and let develop over time. And just enjoy. No need to rush it the way I've got to rush through a video. And as you all know, I love to have you coming back around. So please, take it easy. Don't drink and drive. Cheers.